Oh, okay, there's a finger.
Was it?
Oh, boy.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, bud.
How are you?
I am peachy.
I'm practicing not touching my microphone.
You think
so if
Sarah's
this
going to
sounds
get mad at me
terrible-
for that?
Oh, I think she would love you for it.
You know, it's fun because on this whole new Threads thing, I actually replied to something she said.
No, you reply to everything everyone says.
That's what
Dear God,
that's what you're supposed
how
to do.
much time do you have?
That's what you do.
There was a post from someone I've never
You
heard
couldn't
of,
have
and you're
opened that.
replying.
You couldn't have opened that before the clap.
It's part of the podcast. We like to open it on the
This
podcast.
isn't like an unboxing video.
Yeah.
Fancy with your Perrier.
Unboxing video. What are the chances that we both think about Daniel Craig in a Speedo? This has gone weird.
I did not think about Daniel Craig in a Speedo.
I'm going to touch my mic. I'm sorry. I have to touch
Jesus.
it. I have to bring it closer. It's too far. It's too far away.
So for all of our listeners, this is the actual way that John and I talk to each other all the time. As you can tell, it's unproductive and just has no beginning and no end.
That's right.
Yeah. So, how was your vacation?
It was good. It was good. I got a little ill. So the vacation itself was good, but getting sick when you're in the middle of a road trip and the only way to get home is to drive for 20 hours.
Not good.
It's just not great. Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I'm an adult. I can handle it.
I saw you fishing. I didn't know you knew how to fish.
Yeah, my wife didn't either. We had a fun moment where I was casting the line and she said, I didn't actually know you had this skill.
Yeah.
And I had to remind her that sometimes in life we choose not to do things, not know how to do them.
Yeah, I didn't know you knew how to actually do any of that.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest on the Mississippi River.
Okay, to be fair, how old were you when you left Quincy? Like 2?
I was 12.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't pretend like my values come from there because I think my values come from my time in California.
But your fishing skills.
But there's certain skills that you just, know how to do. I mountain biked in the Midwest. Like there's things that you learn that just are what you know.
Yeah, and to be fair, I never knew in all this time that you fished.
I don't like fishing.
I mean,
but my kids loved it.
Yeah. They looked really,
and I liked
really happy.
They were really happy. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
So where did you go?
Experience. We took a road trip to Idaho.
Okay. Have any potatoes?
We didn't have any potatoes. There's actually a potato museum my mom went to.
Ooh.
That she wanted us to go to, and I didn't want to go. So the idea of the road trip was my sister and my brother-in-law live there.
Okay.
And so we took a road trip. We took an electric car, did an electric road trip.
Yep.
Up through Las Vegas, Utah, into Idaho, spent a couple days, and then back to Arizona. So it was a way to spend the 4th of July.
Nice. Now,
yeah.
So the reason I was asking about your vacation, obviously, I'm very intrigued on how it went, and I saw some of the videos and the photos on Instagram, and the first thought that came to mind was I didn't know he knew how to fish. We talked about that, but also I started thinking about some of the stuff that we talked about recently, and you have taken a lot of trips this year, it feels like.
Yeah.
You have been
one every month for the last 3 months.
Yeah, you have been vacation Braverman.
Yeah.
It's been a thing, and you're not even done yet. You got some more.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so
I do.
So, I think a few episodes ago we were kind of talking about like why we do what we're doing, and not with the podcast, but just in life, like our perspectives of life. And one of the big things for me is I want to travel and I want to see the world, and I want to learn photography through that, and et cetera, et cetera. You have been the one that's been traveling. So give me a quick rundown. So we're filming this in early July. Where have you gone so far this year? Start from January on.
So it's just 4. So in January we were in Flagstaff. We spent New Year's up there.
Okay.
So, not too far from where we live in Arizona. Yep. Quick trip up there. Super great. Nice to be in the cold during January.
Yeah.
In April, I think, we went to California and went to Disneyland.
That's right.
So
you had
my
that
niece's
awesome
birthday.
charging hack.
I did. Yep, that's the Disney
It is
charging
by
hack.
far our most watched video.
All 12 of you. And then we went to Michigan, San Diego.
My home state.
New York,
Yep.
back to San Diego and home.
And that was all one trip?
That was in June.
Okay.
And then in July, we did the trip through Idaho, up to Idaho.
But you got a little bit of time off before your next trip coming up.
Yeah, in the next couple months, we've got a trip internationally to London and Vienna.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And then
Yeah,
anything
it's
to
been a
round
bit of
out the year?
travel. No, I think that's it. I think my bank account needs to recover.
That's fair. And
for
in
a while.
late last,
it needs a vacation.
Well, late last year, you also did a trip towards the end of the year, right? Where you went up to like Moab and Arches and kind of did like a...
No, that was 21. That was 21.
Was it really?
Don't give me credit for that one.
I felt like it was recent.
No, that was a little longer ago.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a lot of trips.
Yeah. For me, for sure. I mean, that's not my nature.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and look, I'm jealous, right? I think whether it's a weekend getaway to, a town a couple hours away or flying coast to coast to coast to coast as you did on your last trip.
yeah.
I love traveling, so I think it's fun. Give me some of like the more memorable moments that you've had this year from traveling.
Yeah. I mean, it's been great. A lot of it's been on the road. And I think the thing when you travel is you have to acknowledge a couple things. You're going to be tired. You're going to be, either jet lagged or just worn out from the travel itself.
Yep.
You're going to probably be a little irritable at times. Like that's the nature of getting up early and messing with your routine.
Sure.
And you're gonna be broke because traveling is expensive and it's not getting any less expensive as the years tick on.
Yeah.
But there's been, every trip has been wonderful in its own way.
Right.
I think, Flag, we got a couple of our best friends, we rented a place and, I don't know about you, but like from those 12 years in the Midwest, I like the idea of being cold on Christmas.
Yeah.
I just think it's fun to be cold around that season.
Yeah. It's just the festive thing.
Yeah. So for us to go build snowmen and snowboard and do those things in what looks like a winter wonderland, if you've never been to Flagstaff in the winter, it's amazing. Was really, really awesome. It was really cool for the kids to get to see that, made some cool videos and I kind of had fun like getting snowed in.
Sure.
And having to deal with that and all the silly things you deal with when you're in an Airbnb of like the heater didn't work one of the nights. And so I'm underneath.
That sounds like
it's like one of those cool gas, fireplace heaters. And so I'm trying to light a pilot light in a, and, when you're in the Midwest,
yeah,
like that's normal. But when you're a West Coaster, you don't light a lot of pilot lights.
Sure.
It's a little scary. So that was great. The Disneyland one, obviously we did a podcast right after. I think what was cool about that is the trip with just the kids. So it was me and the 3 kids in the new car. Mm-hmm. And just something really fun about figuring that stuff out and, getting there and immediately turning around and seeing the wonder in their eyes in Disneyland. And then for me, Star Wars nerd, right?
Sure.
Getting to go to Galaxy's Edge for the first time was just so cool.
Okay.
And getting to spend time with my sis. I love her so much.
Yeah.
And I'll get to see her, and that was great. The New York trip is just 10 out of 10, right? Like,
as always,
from my sister's wedding to being in Manhattan with my wife, which is one of our favorite things to do. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, and that was meant to be a little bit of that.
Yeah.
To finishing in La Jolla, we were at Torrey Pines, and like the different nature of that. If you're in New York, it's so hustle and bustle, and when you're in La Jolla, it's just so chill.
Right.
That those two things bumped right up against each other with Legoland in the middle and stuff was just amazing. And honestly, other than being sick in this trip, that part sucked, right? But like the road trip was awesome. The kids were amazing. The car was fantastic. The whole electric road trip, it's my first like big one. Mm-hmm. And I came out a fan of that type of experience. And the 2 hotels we stayed at. So when we were on the way up, we tried to split the trip where you're like 80-20, right? So we did Salt Lake City the first night.
Okay.
And have you ever stayed at the Grand American?
I've never been to Salt Lake. Well, I take that back. I've been once, but it was a work trip, and I honestly don't remember where we stayed.
Got it. So we Salt Lake's really pretty. Mm-hmm. And driving up there, right? It's kind of a boring drive in some ways. You got that whole like Wickenburg, Vegas drive that's not that pretty.
I've done that drive. That drive is not fun.
But then once you get into Utah, aside from the fact that it's insanely expansive, like you have the red rock changing color and, you can see Capitol Reef and Moab off to the right, and Bryce Canyon and all the Zion and everything. But when we were in Salt Lake, you get there, and of course, you know, the temple is downtown, and so everything is kind of centered around that. And this particular hotel it's an older hotel, but it's like, I don't know how to, like the nicest version of an old hotel you can do. Like, it didn't feel like, you know, how old can sometimes mean like mildewy and terrible.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
This is 5-star, absolutely gorgeous, but it's in Utah, so it's like $180 a night. It's fantastic pricing. And for us, you know, we're a little like travel worry. We get in at 8:30 at night. We're very tired,
Sure.
right? We haven't eaten dinner, and we need to charge the car to leave the next day. So we're like, okay, we'll just go find a charger later. Now, I looked up in PlugShare that there was a charger at the hotel, but I'd also read that, you know, it's just like 4 spots, and oftentimes they're taken. And if there's a God, they were smiling down on us because we pulled into the parking garage and there's a spot right there.
Oh, nice.
So backed in, level 2 charger.
Nice.
Free.
Yeah. Even better.
Plugged in, went in, checked in, did room service. Kids had never had room service before.
Okay.
It was amazing. It was like so good. And it was just like very fun.
Sure.
And then woke up to a 80% charged car with a 3-hour drive left. You know,
Perfect.
Easy peasy, right?
Perfect.
And then in the inverse, so after the great trip with family on the way home, we did Vegas. So we stopped in Vegas to sleep.
Okay.
With the idea of, again, it's like 70% of the drive, right?
Yeah.
So great experience the whole way down. 2 charges, you know, 3 charges total basically gets you from here to Idaho.
Okay.
So 2 charges, get to Vegas, needing the 3rd one. And not a great experience. We went to we skipped an open charger, and we saw this other one that looked like it might be busy. Might be busy would be the understatement of the century. There were like 15 cars lined up.
Oh, okay. So it was busy.
Because it's the back of a mall in Vegas. And so we skipped it, and you know that like Tesla anxiety, right? We only have 20 miles and you don't want to park overnight.
Yes.
So we went to the hotel, and again, there was a charger. So it was a charge point, like level 2, but it's really level 1. So plug in, says it's free. I'm like, all right, cool. 1 kilowatt. It's not going to do anything for our trip, but at least then you like know overnight your car's not going to die.
Right.
Yeah. Well, every hour it stops. So after the second time and the 3 miles I got, I was like, all right, honey, do you want to move the car?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah. So, but no, honestly, no big deal. We went actually to that same charger that was terrible the night before in the morning, and it was amazing because it was just a night problem. Sure. And the cool part is because it was backed up to a mall, we actually went inside and just like shopped for 40 minutes, and then we got in the car and drove home.
Nice.
And so, I mean, just everything about the way the kids were, getting to see family, you know, being in a different place on something like 4th of July where you're just seeing their traditions and what it's like there, it was all super good.
Yeah. Well, what I think is really special about your trip, I mean, all your trips this year, you know, you have some takeaways and some things that made it memorable for you. But just listening to you talk about this trip, I think what's really cool about it is that you're now at a point where you are creating memories for your children.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you took some trips definitely that were for you and Lindsay, right? Definitely, you know, there was parts of or elements of that within your vacations, but really cool to hear you kind of talk about this trip, a lot of firsts for your kids, some fun experiences, but you got to do them as a family. And a lot of these things I would be willing to bet that you have in some way, shape, or form experienced before, whether it's with different people or different situations, but they're definitely firsts for your kids. So that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah. I mean, and they had a blast, right? Like, obviously, if the trip was about me, we would layer in Glacier while you're up there, Jackson Hole, hit the Grand Tetons, like do the stuff that from a photography standpoint. Yeah. But I think the best indication that what you're saying is true is that I didn't take any photos on the trip. I took photos on my phone of my family, and then I shot a lot of video. Yeah. But I think the significance of that is like, you know me, I want the photo. Right. But in where we were at in Idaho, like no photo was going to really be something you're going to blow up and print behind you. Yeah. but the videos were like the giggles of the kids and the cousins and all the stuff, right? So in this particular case, I think that medium, both in the spirit of what you and I have been talking about, I'm trying to get that vlogging lifestyle. You know, I'm starting a 60-day vlog tomorrow.
Ooh.
News.
Breaking
But
news.
also it, like there was something about like it was meant to capture their joy, and video was the right medium for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think hits different, but it's also absorbed differently, and I think that's, that's really cool. Very, very cool. Well, I'm jealous and excited. I mean, I'm jealous of the trips that you have taken so far this year.
Yeah, but okay, jealous.
I'm also excited.
You have a huge vacation on the horizon.
But you have a pretty big one too.
I do.
Same continent.
Same continent.
Month apart. Different countries. Same currency.
Yeah. Is it? It's all euro?
Yeah, it's all euro. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know it. It's like, I hope, I hope so.
It's really interesting. So, for anybody listening out there, if you've never done an international trip, there's a lot of facets that go into it. Obviously, the most obvious is have a passport. Make sure it's not expired, right?
I have an expired passport that's currently with the passport administration. I'm hoping it comes back on time.
That's good because they're taking forever right now. So,
yeah, it's been there for a lot of weeks.
Yeah. So, but so Jill and I booked our trip some time ago for our annual trip, and it's all the little things that really add up. So this past weekend we spent some time, like 4 hours. When I say some time, it's a lot of time, going through and planning everything we want to do. Now we left a lot of time to just explore, but there's certain attractions that you want to see, places you want to go, and you can either get there really early and wait in line, and time is very precious when you're doing a trip like this, or you just pay to do a tour and skip the lines and be prepared. So we went through all that. It was a lot of fun to plan it. Really, really excited for all the things we're going to do. But the things that you don't really think about are starting to come into play now, right? So this morning I was sitting there drinking coffee, and I started thinking about like using our phones in Italy. What is that going to look like? And we have Verizon, right? And so it's like, I
haven't thought of this at all.
Yeah, I was like, so Verizon. Okay, so what's their international plan look like? So I jump on their website and I'm looking, and they don't have good international plans, right? This is something I really miss about T-Mobile, because T-Mobile, you get free data and text basically anywhere you go in the world as part of your plan. Verizon doesn't like that, or doesn't do that. Sorry. So for us to have basically, I think 20 gigs of data or 30 gigs of data. So everything we're going to do, there's database, right? We've already had the conversation between the two of us of like iMessage, FaceTime audio or video, like no phone calls. Do not make a regular phone call. Use your data services, use VoIP, whatever. 20 or 30 gigs of data is $100 a person for the month. That's a lot. That is stupid a lot, right? We're gone for 10 days, and we're probably going to use that data. So then I started looking at international, and let it be known, if you don't have T-Mobile service, international is the way to go. So basically what it came
by international, you mean buying a SIM card.
Exactly. So
from wherever
for
you're
us,
going.
it came down to really, we have two options. For most people, what you're going to do is you're going to land at your final destination in a foreign country. You'll be in the airport. There's going to be kiosks everywhere selling prepaid SIMs. You're going to stop in one and get a SIM card and go.
Yep.
Don't do that. So the second option, if you can do the second option, don't do the first one. The second option is get out of the airport, get closer to where your hotel is, then go to a local shop and do the same thing there. And the difference is a lot of cost and data. So for example, when I was looking at it, in the airport in Rome, we can get a prepaid SIM card for like 35 euros, and it gives us like 20 gigs of data. By the way, super good compared to, $100, right? And just kind of for argument's sake, a euro is $1. They're very, very equal in terms of exchange rate right now. But if I go into the city and I find a couple places right by our hotel, I can pay 20 euros and get like 40 gigs of data. So like, why wouldn't you just do that, right? And the reason this works that way, from my belief, just knowing wireless, is that these plans exist everywhere. But when you're in the airport, they're going to give you certain plan options, right? Because that's just how it works. You're a tourist. You don't know any different. So anyway, so we got that part figured out. Newer phones, no physical SIM cards, so eSIM only. So naturally, that's just going to be a concern in the back of my mind until it activates.
Sure.
So you get that figured out. Then you got to figure out like transportation. How do you, like, I'm in a foreign country. I'm probably not going to use Uber. They have Uber, but who knows how good or bad it is there versus here. So it's just all these like little things. The other day we were talking about like when we leave, we're flying out of Venice. Our flight's not till 9:30 at night. Hotel checkout's at noon. What do?
Right.
So today I actually called the hotel from here. Obviously, it was like 9:30 at night. Super friendly, spoke English, gave me all the options. Like really great, right? But it's just another one of those things that when you're international, it's a much bigger deal than like flying back from Chicago. Also, as soon as I hung up, Verizon sent me a text and said, "You just incurred international rates. Do you want to sign up for a plan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know your plans. I know what you're doing here. I am not going to spend $100 a person to use data for 10 days." So yeah, just very eye-opening, a lot of new experiences. I think you'll probably be able to hopefully borrow some of those. I saw you taking notes for your trip coming up.
I literally wrote it down. So it's funny is I use these handwritten cards, right? And I have a series of things that I've been thinking about for the trip, what camera to pack or what bag to take. How do you carry your passport? Do I need to get some euros? Like all those things. But honest to God, I hadn't thought about wireless, and I'm on a company plan.
Right.
And so I need to...
You got to figure that out. The easiest thing for you is just to get a prepaid SIM when you're there.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that because you don't have two kids. My kids need to be able to call me unequivocally. So my phone's on either way on my main plan. So I need to know, can I travel internationally? How does that work? What are the rules? All this stuff,
Yeah. That's
so
a little different.
I'm literally like looking at the policy because I was trying to figure out like, how does that work?
Yeah. So
frequently asked questions.
Yeah. Very, very, very eye-opening. And so I'm sure there'll be a lot more things that I think of or you think of as we get closer to our dates. I have like 85 and you have like what? How many days? Like 70? No, you're less than I am by like a month. So you're probably 50 days away, something like that. So,
I would tell you this, but I need to invoke future Amir, so I'll tell you this. We're not recording.
Yeah. All right.
I found the answer to my question.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck with that.
It's not good.
Skinny fries.